Nice to see all of you. So we are recording this webinar. So my name's Sasha Dekker. I am the Global Vice President of Go-to-Market Enablement here in HubSpot. I joined the company back in June last year. So as you may have just heard me say, I'm originally Dutch. I moved to Ireland 10 years ago, and I love it here so much that I'm about to give up my Dutch citizenship to become Irish. And the reason behind that is, other than just loving it, the Netherlands doesn't allow for dual citizenship. And I have no intention of ever moving back to the Netherlands. Ireland's very much home for me. And in doing that, I really feel very strongly that I want to be able to vote. I live here, I'm going to stay here. And as such, I want to have a say in how the country is managed, is ruled. I remember after moving here, the very first referendum was around same-sex marriage. And coming, of course, from the country that was the first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage, on top of that, my godparents were gay. I was raised with a fierce sense of equality. It was like, this is an important one for me. You know, the idea that maybe it wouldn't, come through. And I'd still have to tell my gay friends back in the Netherlands that, I love this country. It's like, how am I going to do that? And then it made it, and I was like, well, that's great. And then the second referendum was around abortion. And again, I had strong opinions there. So I was like, what's going to happen there? And again, that made it. And I was like, but I really want to have a say in this. And so that is for me the most compelling factor to give up my nationality. Also knowing that part of me is always going to be Dutch. My directness, my love of stroopwafels and licorice, no one's ever going to take that away from me. I do not need a passport for that. But my heart is very much here in Ireland. So why are we here today? Well, we're here very much to talk about women in sales. And what does that mean? And over my 15 years in working in enablement and working with so many amazing women in sales, I've learned how many misconceptions there are. And we really want to address those. And so we've gathered this amazing group of very strong women in sales. And I'm so delighted to work with them to really talk about what does it mean to be a woman in sales? And then also, what does it mean to be a woman in sales in HubSpot? And so we will leave loads of time at the end for you to ask any questions that you want to ask us. For now, I'm going to hand over to Helena, who's our amazing recruiter here. And she will run you through what the agenda looks like. And she's going to host our panel. So Helena, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sasha. That's a great introduction. I'm sure I can't beat that. However, I'm going to try. I'm going to be moderator for our event today. And the agenda is going to be that we will talk with these three amazing women, with Evelyn, Rachel, and Sasha, to get them know better, their experience in HubSpot, and also why did they choose sales as a career. I'm a sales recruiter here in HubSpot for the last 12 months, actually, but I do have 4 years of international recruitment in Dublin. I was working 3 years in recruitment agency, and during my career, I helped hire more than 200 sales professionals across the whole EMEA. So saying all that, I really noticed that EMEA and the world is changing. We need more and more sales professionals because there's so many businesses that are growing, so the need for sales professional is growing. What used to be sales maybe 5-10 years ago before GDPR and today is completely different thing, and we did notice that actually interest in sales career is completely different between genders. So also the agenda of this meeting would be to inspire women to show them that sales career is not scary at all. It's actually a very lucrative career. You can have work-life balance, and we just want to share more information about it and just like get to know you with the sales career and HubSpot itself. Saying all that, I will also move to Evelyn, who is our account executive, Benelux, here in HubSpot, and she will introduce herself now.
Yes, hi all. My name is Evelyn. I'm also the same as Sasha, a Dutchie from the Netherlands. I did a totally different background. Did my master's in Dutch law and always with the idea of becoming a lawyer. But unfortunately, I really couldn't find my passion in that job. So I actually decided to switch everything and to move into sales. And 1 year ago, I decided to move from Amsterdam to Dublin for a job opportunity at HubSpot, where I'm working now as an account executive for the Benelux market. And so far, the best decision I have ever made. Yeah, Rachel, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rachel Kenny. I've been at HubSpot for 3.5 years. And yeah, my story wasn't a typical let's jump into sales story either. I wouldn't have started as a BDR. I started in HubSpot as a channel consultant on the customer success side. And I spent 2.5 years in the channel consultancy role, and we'll probably get into it later. But yeah, I made the switch, and similar to Evelyn, wouldn't look back. Best decision I've ever made.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rachel and Evelyn, for sharing your stories. So we will start with first questions. So first one would actually be for Evelyn, because you joined HubSpot and you relocated from Amsterdam in the middle of pandemics. So we are really curious to hear your story and, how did you decide to make that step and actually come to Dublin?
Yeah, so well, actually, it was quite challenging, I must say, moving to another country where I've actually never been, middle of the pandemic times. Yeah, especially like you would like to build new relationships. Also, I've never worked in tech before, so everything was so very new to me. I needed to know the job. I couldn't go to the office, so I couldn't also meet my colleagues by that time. But yeah, however, like the first month, sometimes, of course, I was asking myself, oh, what did I do to myself? Like moving to another country, doesn't know anyone. But I really enjoyed my time at HubSpot, and also HubSpot, they provided me so much support, not only HubSpot itself, but also my manager, my team, also during the onboarding period. And yeah, there were a lot of trainings provided and courses. So that also makes sure that you are getting up and running quite fast, even though you are remotely. And besides that, you always have during your trial period, during your onboarding period, also a supportive buddy. So I had a very good supportive buddy who always listened to me, set time aside whenever I needed his help. But everyone within the company is super willing to help you out. So you can always book time in agendas of people. They're always open for a chat to share their tips and tricks. And that's actually also the main reason why I joined HubSpot, because of the culture code. Like everyone is super open, willing to help you, and especially when working remotely, it's very necessary to get you up and running and to enjoy your time at the new job as well. So yeah, if I need to give some advice and tips on that, like if I look back at 1 year ago, just do it. Like throw yourself in the deep, go out of your comfort zone, and meet new people. Set yourself a goal. Set up calls with your colleagues doing yours. Once you are starting at a new company, and ask for tips and tricks. And I think I truly believe like hard work will pay off. And that's like after 1 year, I can definitely say that that is going well now at HubSpot.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. That's very insightful. And, I just also want to mention to our attendees that we are actually hiring not only in Ireland, but also in Belgium and also in Germany. We're a very flexible employer, which means that, you don't need to be based in Dublin or Berlin. You can be based anywhere within the locations of, Belgium, Ireland, and Germany. And, you can work from there. So I think that's also very important to know. Saying all that, we're going to move to Rachel now, because Rachel actually is a long-time HubSpotter. She's here over 3 years. She joins as customer success manager, and she stayed there for 2 years and made a switch to sales. So Rachel, what made you make that step?
Yeah, I think for me, it was always being exposed to people in sales. So I would have had a lot of friends in sales, be it at HubSpot or be it at another technology company. And I had the belief at the beginning that, you have to start at an entry-level sales position, and then this, you follow the ladder and you follow the process and you become a rep. So whilst I was always quite intrigued by a sales role, immediately I felt, do you know what, we'll just put that on the back burner because it's just not going to be possible. And then years passed at HubSpot, and because a channel consultant's role is to work quite closely with our sales counterparts, you get really exposed to their conversations, their working day, the relationships that they would build with people, prospects or customers. And suddenly you kind of find yourself thinking, I could definitely do that. I could definitely do that. It's just, where is that barrier to entry? Because I didn't even know where the barrier to entry was, let alone what do I need to do to open it. So I started to have conversations with people. A lot of my sales counterparts that I would have worked with were actually quite encouraging as well. They actually told me to go consider it. And it was funny because they were seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself, if that makes sense. They were pushing me, they were encouraging me to make this move. They had confidence in me before I had confidence in for me to make that move. So between a lot of curiosity, encouragement from everyone in HubSpot, to be perfectly honest, and then I went to a manager to ask them, because they had made a similar move years ago, and to ask them, what gaps did they have to close to be undeniable when interviewing for a sales position. And instead of the conversation being, okay, well, you need to work on this, it's don't worry what you need to work on. You've got so many skills and valuable assets that you're actually going to be bringing to the team. And then, I was suddenly, by the end of that conversation, I was in an interview process for that manager's team. So it was, for me, it was definitely I made the move at the right time. I don't think that I could have made it any earlier, or I think that for me, it was the right time to make it. I don't regret not going into sales sooner. But I think that the reason why I ended up doing that move and I was successful trying that move is because I was very, very curious. I did my homework. I reached out to everybody imaginable, and I got a lot of support on the way as well. So it was a really nice transition.
That's definitely great to hear. And can I just ask you one more question related to that? So what do you think, and what your manager thought, what kind of soft skills did you have that he knew are going to make you successful in sales?
So it's actually a really interesting question, because it's a bigger picture movement within kind of the culture of sales, and it's consultative selling, right? So that manager knew that I would be trained to consult companies, and that was really the main player. He knew that, yes, that came along with our product expert as someone who's coming from customer success. So we don't have to learn or ramp on the product anymore, but I suppose that's not everybody's case. But the biggest thing for him was the soft skill that I had would have been the consultative selling, and been able to come in with that valuable piece, because selling has moved to that motion. It's no longer a hard sell. It's a right message, right time, right person. What are your challenges? How can we help? Can we help? So he kind of saw that was shining through mostly for me, and really supported that move then.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rachel, for that. And yeah, definitely just want to confirm also from the recruitment perspective, because there is so much need for sales professionals. We are really more focused on soft skills, on, having consultative approach, solving for customer, and coachability, because, long-term, those will be the skills that will make you successful in sales career. But Sasha, question for you. So from the enablement perspective, what does HubSpot do to help new hires be successful?
A lot. So we strongly believe that in order to be successful, you need to be set up for success. And so we're currently doing an entire overhaul of the onboarding program, because we feel that that's where it starts. And so we believe that it needs to be a combination of understanding what you sell and how you sell it. So to put it very bluntly, it's about competence and confidence. And so if you look at, I like to always talk about my first principles. And the very first one is learning needs to be fun. So for many people, learning is something that, oh my gosh, another training, need to go through this. Doesn't work like that. Learning needs to be fun. It needs to be something that you look forward to. The second thing is learning needs to be a safe space. So we strongly believe that it needs to be an environment in which you can fail hard and fail early. And what that means is that we believe in doing a lot of role plays. You know, get all your mistakes out in a safe environment where you can practice, where you can, you know, learn how to have your conversations, make your mistakes so that you feel confident then talking to the customer. We also feel that we need to measure what's working and what isn't working so we can consistently improve. And so these are the kinds of things that we are doing in onboarding. And then we believe that learning needs to be reinforced. You know, we can't put anyone through an onboarding program and then believe that they are completely ready and do not have to do anything anymore. Like I could teach anyone Dutch, you know, like we could spend this webinar and I can teach you now, you know, the basics of Dutch. But then if no one does anything with it anymore, you know, 2 weeks from now, it is all forgotten. So here's an interesting fact for you. There was a guy back in 1885 called Herman Ebbinghaus, and he came up with what we call the forgetting curve. And what he proved is that out of everything that you learn, within 24 hours, you forget, here it goes, a whopping 70%. So you only remember 30% of what you learn. And there's a couple of ways in which we can mitigate that. So we need to chop up things and we need to reinforce them. And so that's what we're doing when it comes to enablement. So we're helping people be competent, so know what they're talking about, but also build their confidence. Make sure that every time they talk to a customer, they feel confident in doing what they're doing, you know, in building their territory, in building their customer base, in feeling good about what they're doing. So small chunks. So that's just the onboarding part. And then after that, it's all about role-based. You know, what makes you good in your role? We also strongly believe in HubSpot, in autonomy. You know, it's not about pushing things out. You are responsible for your own career development. You are responsible for your own learning. What do you think is going to make you better? If you are already fantastic in understanding what a customer needs, the discovery process, then I'm not going to force you to go through a training that focuses on that. But maybe what you really need is something around negotiations. Then that's what you should be signing up for. So it's very much based on what we call a pool model. You decide what's going to make you better. And then we make sure that you have access to that. So onboarding first, then what we call everboarding, because learning never stops. And then in-role, role-based, in-seat development that is continuous, that's going to help you be the best professional you can be.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Sasha. And I can definitely confirm that from my own experience, you know, with my great managers and, you know, having autonomy, no micromanagement is absolutely true. So thanks for sharing. Evelyn, back on you. It's going to be another, like, let's say, Netherlands related question, just because, you know, so many people are relocating to Ireland on a yearly basis. So what was your experience with relocation, especially like in pandemics? And can you tell me if you had some maybe unfunded worry that ended up not being true at the end?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, moving to another country where you are like for a longer time of periods. I've done it before, but that was more like I did a 3 months language course in California. I did another 6 months exchange in Arizona, but like I know how to move is how it is to feel to move to another country for a couple of months, but like really moving to a new country for a job opportunity, that's of course something else. And of course, yeah, I've never visited Dublin before, so it was very scary. I didn't know the city. I actually didn't know anyone here. Also, yeah, what you were saying, like it was during COVID time, so everything was closed at the time. So yeah, I was very scary to feel very lonely here. Also, yeah, it was a new job, new industry. I was like, can I do this all by myself? Leave my family, friends behind, my boyfriend. But yeah, again, like what I was saying in the beginning already, it's the best decision that I have ever made. The feeling that I was like to be lonely here, that was absolutely not at all. Like, it's very easy. Like, everyone is here in the same situation. There are a lot of expats who are also looking to meet new people. So yeah, I've met a lot of new people during my time here. I've made a lot of friends. And actually, since everything is open up again, it's like even better. We can go to bars. I'm spending a lot of time with my colleagues here at the office, which is super fun. You really have now the HQ feeling experience. We have some drinks on the rooftop bar. So yeah, the more the point that I was like scared to be lonely, that's actually, it turned out that I have really made friends for life. And yeah, it has been an amazing experience so far.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Evelyn. And then back to you, Rachel. You come from customer success role where you didn't have really like strict sales targets. And after joining sales, you really smashed it. So just wanted to ask you what practical tips you can share around managing your day or week and actually constantly smashing your targets.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that people can definitely look at or even start to think about. In HubSpot, we have monthly targets. I know in other companies it could be slightly different, but I think one of the interesting things for me that I grasped at the beginning was the sense that, yes, there is a monthly target, but that's how the company is tracking their performance, right? So how is it best that you want to work that target for yourself? Are you going to break that down into 365 days and what you have to do within each day for like those days to pass and you to be 125% of target? Like, what needs to happen? So are you going to break that down quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly? So, and then that kind of brings into question, how do you behave with your calendar? So I'm of the opinion that you should be it's extremely beneficial for you. I know not everybody can work the same, but to be a slave to your calendar, for me, if it's not in my calendar, it's not going to happen. And I'm not even talking about creating a 2-hour block that says calls on it. I'm talking about calls to technology companies with 25 people in the Netherlands, because you're actually allowing yourself to get really specific, and that allows you to achieve that task or that calendar reminder a lot better. So that would definitely be two things. Be very, very tied to your calendar, be specific in what you're booking time in with. And the other one would be consistency, right? Because I think salespeople, and me, myself, I can definitely say this for myself, is we're very instant gratification led, right? We want it now. We don't want it yesterday. And that can be quite hard because when you're doing tasks and outreach, that's probably not going to come around for another 4 or 5 months, realistically, majority of cases. So you have to do things that Rachel in Q4 is going to love you for. So, and that can be quite hard. And that means that you have to be quite disciplined with yourself and you have to be very, very consistent. So as long as you're getting the things done every single day that you have to do consistently to be successful over 365 days, that's really, really important as well. And I think above all, like, sales is easy, but it's hard. My manager told me that. And what he means when he says that is it's not rocket science. Like, we're not building a rocket ship. We don't have to do crazy mathematical calculations, but we do have to be very consistent in what we do day to day.
That's a great insight, Rachel. Definitely resilience is so important in sales. So thanks for sharing. Sasha, from your perspective as a female leader, what would be your advice for women hesitating to get into new challenges?
That is such a great question. As women, we tend to think that we need to tick all the boxes before we would even consider, applying or going for a job or even looking at it. And it's scary, and I see that when I'm a hiring manager, let's stereotype here for a minute. I see guys and they're like, oh, I can do this, no sweat. And women look at a job application, job description, and they're like, well, I can't do this and I can't do this and I can't do this. I probably shouldn't apply. And men look at the same job description and they go, I can do this and I can do this. I'm gonna apply. And it's just a different mindset. And I'm the exact same, don't get me wrong. And I think that, you know, go for it. And that's a tough one. The thing is, very often you have nothing to lose. I mean, what if you just go for it? And I love the fact that in HubSpot, without making this a commercial, the fact that at the end of every job description, we have we understand imposter syndrome. You know, we understand that maybe you're looking at this and thinking, I may not be checking all the boxes. We still invite you to apply. Because it is scary. And there is that, what if everyone else? We all have that. Like, you know, personal story, back in 2015, I went into hospital for a surgery. It was supposed to be very straightforward. I woke up fully paralyzed on my left side. 3 weeks later, they came to tell me that based on the MRI, it was highly unlikely I would ever walk, work, or live independently again. And they handed me a list of nursing homes. And so there I was, you know, up until that moment, I was a very successful senior leader traveling the world. And all of a sudden I was in a wheelchair, paralyzed, fully dependent on other leaders, on other people, thinking, you know, what is my life going to be like? And all I knew and all I said was, I will go back to work and I am going to walk again. And not just that, I will walk on the Great Wall of China. And in spite of that, my main worry was, is anyone ever going to take me seriously? Like, will I be able to stand in front of people again and will they want to talk to me? And even now, you know, as I go into the office, I always think, what's going to happen? How are people going to look at me? And I'm a global vice president. And by the way, to the day, 2 years after I became paralyzed, I walked on the Great Wall of China. And the other day I was in the office. It was like my second week back in the office. And so I don't know that many people yet. And it was lunchtime. And so my left side's paralyzed. And so I walk with a stick. And so I can't carry a plate. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, it's lunchtime. What am I going to do? Because I don't know anyone today. So maybe I need to skip lunch because I can't carry my plate. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, yeah, I am kind of hungry, but what am I going to do? And so it took me about 30 minutes and I was like, yeah, kind of need to do something here because I am kind of hungry and I've got an entire afternoon filled with meetings. So finally pull myself together, walk over to the lunch counter and I was like, maybe, you know, you can do like a takeaway bag. And the guy goes, no, we don't have takeaways, but I'll walk you to wherever you want to go. And I'm almost in tears. I'm like, really? And he goes, yes, of course I'll do that. There's always kind people. And I'm talking to a friend of mine, a man, and he goes, I can't imagine you ever thought about that. He was like, I wouldn't have thought about that twice. What I'm trying to say here is that as women, we self-impose all these doubts. We make all these stories up about what might happen, what could happen, and why we shouldn't do things. You know, we do that for every hurdle there might be. The thing is, just go for it. Try it out, see what happens. We all have imposter syndrome. Try it out, see what happens. Like Evelyn just said, you know, she was afraid she might be lonely. There were loads of people to be friends with her. I was afraid to go to lunch. There were people wanting to help me. You might be afraid to apply for a job. You've got nothing to lose. Just go for it. Don't let anyone ever tell you what you are and aren't capable of. Just go for it.
That's such a great insight, Sasha. Thank you for sharing. Like, I know your story, but it always tears me up. So really appreciate it. And I completely agree with you. I feel as a woman, we just set some restrictions for ourselves, which are actually not there. And exactly, like, also from like recruitment perspective, I always say to girls or women, go for it, try. As a recruiter in HubSpot, we are also very consultative. Maybe you're not gonna like to hear from me that you can start at a certain point, that you need to start on the step below, but everything is there for a reason, and we are definitely more than happy to help and explain, where those requirements are coming from. So saying that also, Evelyn, I would like to hear more about your interview process in HubSpot.
Yeah, so I had several rounds within HubSpot, and actually before I was planning to apply for HubSpot, it was for me very important to know from an insider who was actually already working for HubSpot what his experience was. So I actually did that. I reached out to someone on LinkedIn, Peter, and I was asking him, hey, can you have a chat about what is your experience about HubSpot? So we had a call. He told me what he was thinking about HubSpot, his experiences. And yeah, from that point, I got very excited about getting a job at HubSpot. So he referred me, and then I got my first call with the recruiter. And yeah, that was more like an open conversation, a very introduction call. I believe it was 20 minutes. Where I can introduce myself. I had the ability to ask her some questions. And I must say, like, the recruiter was also during the whole process very supportive. I could always reach out to questions to her. After that call, I had another call with my future manager. And again, this was also more an open conversation about what were my skills, what was my background. And from there on, I rolled into the third round, and that was actually where I needed to prepare a business case. What I had never done before, like not in the tech industry. So it was quite challenging. And so also, again, like I asked the recruiter for some help. Also, I asked some other people who actually was working in the tech industry to help me prepare this business case, because it's very important to prepare it well. And yeah, that day I needed to present it for the manager and an account executive. I remember I was super nervous because I was like, okay, this is very important. I need to show a new skill here. Actually I smashed it. And the manager was saying like, well, this is really great. We would like to move on to the next round with you. So I was like, yes, on to the next one. I didn't know, like I needed to do 2 more rounds. So I was like, okay, I'm so close. And then I had the 4th round of interviews with different kind of managers. So it was super nice also to meet other people from the company and see different kind of faces. And this was more about, what do you think about the culture? Culture obviously is very important within HubSpot. So we were discussing those kind of questions, but also the skill sets and behavior points. And then I had my last round, and I was very nervous for this one with the sales director. I was like, okay, this is the last thing that I need to do before to get an offer. So I really need to, also make sure that the sales director is, enthusiastic about me, and that she would believe that I could be a good account executive within HubSpot. And it was a very open, super nice conversation. And I was like, oh, this was not so bad. I expected it like it was way more strict, but it was not at all. And after that conversation that I had, I was like, okay, this is going to be my company. I had such a nice conversation during this whole process, and a lot of support from different sides. And after that conversation, I got an offer from HubSpot. So this is where I am now today.
That's a great story, and we are delighted to have you, Evelyn. Absolutely. I think you definitely give a couple of really important points there that, like even when you're doing something new, you always feel like you are, not on that level, but like in HubSpot, we really see potential. We hire for potential, and you definitely prove that. So great to hear. And then Rachel, back to you. I'm actually curious to know, and I'm sure our attendees as well, if you can talk a little about our customers and impact that you have on their success in a role like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the sales role and being an account executive or a sales rep is actually quite an amazing role to have, because if you think the amount of conversations that you have with different companies over a month, a year, whatever you want to say, it gives you an exposure to so many different companies with different challenges, different org structures and processes, that suddenly, and maybe it's a thing that you don't, well, I didn't realize until maybe a couple of weeks into the role, that suddenly you start to garner all of this information, all these different kind of companies. You become such an invaluable resource to any company you're speaking to. So for me, and I think The Challenger Seller would be a good book to reference this as well, is when I'm talking to a prospect or a customer, you're immediately adding value, because you're like, oh yeah, no, I had a customer or a prospect similar to your situation. They actually ended up doing this and they got this outcome because of those actions. So you're such an invaluable resource to prospects and to existing customers as well. So you do have quite an impact as well, because you're lucky, like if you could imagine, like you've got one company here, and you know, they might read reports and they might talk to their network or whichever, but as a sales rep, you touch so many different companies in your role. So you've just so much knowledge and access to knowledge to give to other people trying to solve their own challenges. And then to existing customers, it's then a layer on that, then the expertise of being in technology and selling technology and a CRM platform as well. Like you're able to consult on what best suits them and how they're going to use the platform to better their business. And then it's not even the impact that you have on your HubSpot's immediate customers. It's actually the impact that you have on HubSpot's customer. Okay, so like we sell front office platform, meaning that we're helping people go to market, like sales, service, marketing, which means that we're helping businesses remove frictions from that customer journey. And like the customers will come back time and time again, they'll refer. So we're giving them the ability to create that amazing customer journey. And as a result, we're helping customers grow their own business, because, you know, they come back because of referrals, or they get really, really well known for how they talk to their customers and how they treat their customers. So much impact, be it through sales rep knowledge and the value that they bring to the conversation, and just what HubSpot is doing in general, and how we're helping as sales reps get people access to the platforms that they need in order to help their customers. So it's an amazing time to be part of HubSpot, to be honest.
That's such a great point, Rachel. I'm so happy you shared that, because I feel that's the switch that we all need to do. In sales, you're not bothering people, quite the opposite. You're adding lots of value. So thanks for that. And then, like the last question before we actually head up to questions from our attendees, I would be curious to hear what do you like the most about working in HubSpot? So Sasha, I'll start with you.
I reckon everyone's going to say this. Of course, it's a combination of the people, and the people are here because of the culture. I worked for another company that will remain unnamed, because we don't like bashing former employers, that was supposed to also have a great culture. And then I became paralyzed and I was in hospital, and all of a sudden that culture was out the window. And I think these are the moments when it really matters. And I came back to work because that's what I want to do. I just told you all. And the head of HR told me within my first week back at work, Sasha, I just want to let you know, disabilities are not a priority for us. And this was a company that was supposed to care. And so I remember when I interviewed with HubSpot. So back in time, so the first time I interviewed with HubSpot was in October 2014. And just as they were about to fly me to Boston for my final interview, I heard that I had to have my surgery, which eventually rendered me paralyzed. And from an integrity point of view, I didn't feel that I could take a job, say yes to a job, knowing I was going to have to be out at some point. So I turned it down. So last year when they approached me, I felt that, this is the universe coming together. This is just perfect. And so as I went through the interview process, I reached out to quite a number of people I know in HubSpot from previous companies, going, what do you think? And they all said the same thing. Sasha, we need you and you're going to love it. And I was like, okay, that's great. Getting endorsements from people who work in the company is really a good thing. And it has never disappointed. So again, on one hand, having in a previous company, a HR director go in, just know disabilities are not a priority. And then starting here in June and July is Disability Awareness Month and Disability Pride Month. And then hearing the Chief People Officer go in we're going to pay attention to this. In a company-wide meeting, I was like, that's a difference. Culture genuinely is something that we live every single day. You know, the whole idea of it's not in the halls, it's in our hearts. That is very true. It's a company where people genuinely want to help. Evelyn just said that. You know, there's always people who want to help you. And that is very true. I've never met a single asshole in HubSpot. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to like everyone, but everyone is going to be willing to help you. And I love that. So it's the people, and the people are a result of the culture that we have.
That's excellent. Thank you, Sasha. Moving on to Evelyn.
Yeah, so if I have to say, like, HubSpot is an amazing company. Like, we are selling a great product. So what also Rachel was saying, we can really add value to our customers. We are not selling a stupid product who we say like people are not in the end are going to happy with it. So it's a super fun of being a sales rep within HubSpot. But besides that, like the people, what Sasha is also mentioning, are amazing. We are very international. It's an international environment. There are a lot of different nationalities, and also the benefits that HubSpot is offering. I have never experienced or have seen that before where I was working. Like, we have unlimited holidays. The ability to work 90 days from anywhere else is like truly amazing. So yeah, that all brings, like, if you take that all together, it makes a great company to work for.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Evelyn. Rachel?
I'm going to preface and just say the people, yes, but I have to give something else, right? So yeah, 100% the people at HubSpot, they're the people, like they're the ones who are going to develop you. They're the ones that are going to be supporting you throughout your HubSpot journey. Aside from that, it would be the platform. The platform is an absolute dream to sell and to present and to talk through with customers and prospects. It's extremely easy to use. We obviously use it ourselves. It's extremely intuitive, and it genuinely does impact so many amazing businesses in great ways. So going in, having amazing teams, and then getting to sell a dream CRM platform, like, it doesn't really get any better. And also everything that Evelyn and Sasha have both mentioned. But yeah, so amazing sales team, huge, extremely impressive people here at HubSpot. And then you just get to sell something that you use every day. And I think it's very lucky role to have at HubSpot.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Rachel. And I'm gonna start with our first question coming from Irene. So she said, sales can be a very stressful job. Can you tell us your experience about handling this within the HubSpot? So maybe we can start with Rachel.
Yeah, I think stress is really interesting. It affects people in completely different ways. And sales would definitely be a role where you probably will experience or come up against stress from time to time. It's all about, for me anyway, it's about making sure I have in check the things that I know support me. So like my routine, my daily routine. I get up, I take my dog for a walk, I'll do yoga, I'll meditate an awful lot, I'll go to the gym. It's just making sure I am more susceptible to stress if I don't do my daily routine. And I know that. And once you're equipped with that knowledge, you're better able to handle when those stressful opportunities arise.
That's excellent. Evelyn, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, I think what Rachel is saying there, and also for me, from my experience, sometimes stress also puts me indeed like even in a better position because it makes me sharp. Also, we are working with a monthly target, so it can sometimes be tough, but like it also puts you every month like on sharp again, and it's really force you to make your routine work. So it's not like, okay, I've done another month, that's well done. No, we need to move forward to the other months and look, make a plan for yourself to really reach that target month by month. And I think at some point, if you have built that up for yourself, then then it will be all right.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Evelyn. We got one question from Anonymous. That would be like, I admire HubSpot and I would like to work there someday. And what are the top 3 soft skills to develop for a role in sales? So yeah, Evelyn, maybe you can give us a bit more insight here.
Well, the soft skills for sales, I think you really need to understand your client. So empathic. I think that's very important. Listening, because if we don't know, if we don't cover the problems of the customer, of the lead, we can also not solve it, right? So it's very important to understand what they are actually, what the challenges they are facing, and from there on, you really can be in a consultative way to them. And I think also, yeah, again, like consistency, because consistency is very key. If I reach out 1 week a lot of times and I don't do that like another week, then of course, then I will be in problem later on. So I think those are the soft skills you really need to yeah, take care of within to be a successful rep.
Excellent. Sasha, did you notice some pattern from the people working in sales when you put them through the process that, you know, they all have?
So I would agree with Evelyn. First and foremost, I think the most undervalued and underestimated skill, whereas I would see it as probably the most important, and Evelyn mentioned it, is listening. You need to 100% be a good listener. Because the mistake I see, because the other side of that, the mistake I see salespeople make that aren't so good is that they're just waiting for buying signals. And the moment they hear it, they just jump on it and they stop listening. Whereas the good salespeople, they truly listen. And then they ask really high impact questions to uncover even more. So more listening, asking great questions. And that comes with the empathy that Evelyn just mentioned. And then absolutely, again, to Evelyn's point, she hit on all of them, perseverance. You need to have perseverance and resilience. You know, you're going to hear no loads of times. And resilience does not mean, and this is so incredibly important, resilience does not mean you're happy all the time. Resilience absolutely means that you're going to have shitty days. And that's where your colleagues come into play. You know, it's okay to say, this just sucks. That's perfectly all right. You know, take a walk, get a cup of coffee, recharge, go back. Resilience is not about being sunshiny all the time. It's about being okay with your shitty moments, embracing them. It's about not letting them get to you. It's about not letting it get you down. It's about going, okay, that sucked. Now, what can we go? You know, how can I recharge for the next call? Persevering. Listening again, showing the empathy, asking high gain questions.
That's great. Thank you, Sasha. We are moving to Christina's question. Is it a requirement to move to Dublin immediately in case of the job offer? I'm based in the Netherlands, so I guess Dublin office is the closest. So I can answer this question, Christina. So it's not like a must to go to Dublin, because as I mentioned already, we do have offices in Belgium, Germany, and Ireland. So maybe in your case, you know, one of the continental countries would be closer. And what I also want to mention that we do have also 90-day mobility policy, which means, for example, you know, you can come to Dublin for 2-3 weeks to sort out your documentations, go back to Netherlands for 3 months, and then return back to your, let's say, office country. We will have some exciting news about new locations also soon. However, I can't share them at this moment, but Christina, if you don't mind, I will connect with you directly via LinkedIn and we can discuss it. But thank you so much for the question. Then Irene has another question, and that would be, what are preferred closing techniques to sell in HubSpot? So Rachel, can you please answer this one?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I don't think that I would have any one preferred closing technique. It would definitely be a case by case. And another skill that's important to have as a salesperson is to be extremely adaptable to who you're selling to and be able to adapt your selling skills. So it all depends, like the takeaway, close, the assumptive, the open, the summary. There's plenty of techniques out there that we can adopt and we can learn. Taking into consideration that that's a case by case, maintaining control of the end of the sales process is extremely important. So a lot of sales reps will finish a demo and then the conversation will be, okay, so I'll hear from you. Whereas maintaining control of the conversation, always having a follow-up meeting. And I believe activation calls are one of the key ways that forecasting accuracy, so what you're forecasting to your team that you're going to bring in any given month, is seen is if you have maintained control of the deal and you're almost on the phone with the prospect saying, okay, let's sign together. So that's one way I would say is not necessarily a technique, but the method that I definitely use.
That's excellent. Thanks so much. Evelyn, anything to add on this point?
Well, I think what Rachel there is mentioning, I think it's always very important when you are closing a call, yeah, there needs to be a follow-up. So have that after a demo, I always put in the calendar indeed like a feedback call where we can discuss, and from there on we also can discuss the offer by that time. And then what Rachel is saying, what I also use in my process is an activation call, because then you are really stick to the date where, or they do it before, so then the activation call is actually not necessary anymore. Or if they need some help, because sometimes it not always worked out, or they don't know how to do it, then I help them. I am there to support them to help them actually to have the activation link there. So you are really need to be in control of that process, especially on the end as well.
Okay, that's excellent. Evelyn, thank you so much for that. And then it will just be another question from Anonymous for Sasha. So Sasha, can you just also tell us a bit more details about like onboarding in HubSpot and specifically for sales?
So I'm not entirely sure what kind of detail you're looking for. The idea is that you would come in. The first week is going to be all about who we are as a company. So you're going to learn about culture, values, all the things that you want to know about the company. Then you're going to learn about the product, because of course you need to know again, like what are we selling? And then you're also going to learn about the different sales techniques. So how you're going, so what you're going to sell, and then how you're going to sell.
Yeah, excellent.
So that's really what onboarding looks like. Yeah. We call it launch and accelerate.
Yeah, sorry for cutting you, Sasha. I just wanted to add that I think like onboarding in HubSpot is definitely one of the best that we can see on the market. I was quite impressed when I joined myself, because like first week is actually onboarding for everyone in EMEA who are starting on that date. So really have opportunity to meet like your VP or people in customer success and really kind of connect with the whole team. And I think that's a great experience. That first week is for everyone to learn basics about our product, to learn about our culture, but also to sort out those, let's say, boring things such as health insurance, pension schemes. So I think this is really important, especially for people who are relocating to different countries, which is actually happening a lot lately.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sasha. Just wanted to check if anybody has any question to add, because at the moment seems like that's it. What I want to share that we are recording this, of course, so we will also follow up with you with the recording. And if you have any additional questions or you want to reach out to us, please do. We are more than happy to connect with people, share more information. So this is absolutely not an end. Not sure if anybody has anything else to add. Maybe ladies, Sasha, Evelyn, and Rachel, would you have some final words from your point?
I think there was a question that actually came in from somebody just now on the chat as opposed to the Q&A.
Okay.
The question around what the criteria are to apply to sales in HubSpot.
Okay. So maybe with this question, I can just start. Sorry that I missed it. As a recruiter, so I can tell you there are certain criteria, but they're not extremely strict, and we are really focused on the soft skills. So you can also see from both Evelyn's and Rachel's experience. Evelyn had a law degree. She was working in recruitment. She didn't have any exposure to tech. However, thanks to her soft skills and, preparation, she nailed it and she actually got a role in HubSpot. Same thing from Rachel is that she was actually in completely other department and then she moved to sales. And that's another thing that I really want to highlight in a HubSpot, that there is lots of internal mobility. There's lots of transparency about which roles are open and how you can progress. The main requirements would actually just be to prove that, you do have that consultative approach, you're a problem solver, and you're also extremely coachable. Because to be successful in sales, you do need to be resilient. You constantly need to learn new things. So you really need to be open-minded and coachable. Maybe other panelists can add something. Evelyn, you are nodding your head.
Yeah, well, I think just do it. Like, even though if you not tick all the boxes, what Sasha already was mentioning before, like I was actually looking up the job description. I was like, I don't meet all the points there, but I'm going to give it a try. And indeed, like, I think if you are just being yourself, preparation is key. If you know what to answer, you know about the company, you know what the job is, preparation for the business case. Yeah, and on the end, like, I didn't tick all the boxes off, but I got the job in the end. So just just go for it. Like, even though if you are not meeting all the requirements.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you so much, Rachel. Then I believe that I saw another like anonymous question, which was, what is actually attracting HR when we are receiving applications? So I can answer that one. And I can tell you that a good CV can definitely open doors. Because it's really important that it's written in a professional way. You don't need to tick all of the boxes, but if you maybe write a few paragraphs about why you're specifically interested for the company and for the specific job, that's definitely going to be helpful. We are not expecting people to have cover letters. It is all about just stating your duties in a very organized way, preferably with bullet points. So yeah, good CV is definitely a great start. Excellent. So actually we have another question from Anubha, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing the name right. She is asking, what is the best way to make your candidature visible? So also another thing that I wanted to add is like, not everybody is a perfect match, absolutely, but I like when people approach me on LinkedIn, they share that, they did apply, and then I can call them and tell them, for example, that is great, this is how we can continue the interview process, or saying, fortunately, it doesn't meet the basic requirements, but I would suggest you to apply to this and this role, because I can tell you, like, I feel like I hired more people from other departments from just simply like referring them. And I think that's very helpful, but definitely, try to find out who is the best point of contact and, reach that person on LinkedIn. Then we do have one other question from Delphine for Evelyn and Rachel. So looking back, what are the one thing you would do differently when starting in HubSpot? So Rachel, maybe you can start.
One thing I do differently starting in HubSpot would probably be, I'm not sure. I thought I had a great start. Maybe I didn't. I'm questioning myself now. I would probably say be more open to networking yourself. I was actually quite shy when I came into HubSpot, if you could believe that. So I found it very, very difficult to walk up to people that I didn't know and get to know them. And actually being in HubSpot and the office kind of really helped doing that. So I would say probably put myself out there a bit more from the beginning.
Okay. Evelyn?
For me, I would say I did so many things at the same time during my job. So then I was doing that and I was doing that, and there was no consistency at all. So actually, when I was saying like the consistency part is very important, I really needed to find my way of working around. So yeah, I really had in the beginning that I was all over the places and stressing myself out. But now, if I look back at it, I was like, well, everything will come together at some point. So don't don't make it bigger as it is. It's like everyone is doing it, so it will be all right. So that's what I would have learned from the beginning, if and where I would stand now.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for sharing also, Evelyn. I believe also this is a really great question for the end. I think we learned a lot today, and we really, really thank you for attending and to taking the time to listen to us. As mentioned already, we will follow up with videos, and please be free to connect with us and continue conversation about HubSpot career. We are definitely looking forward to that. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Happy Friday.
Happy
Bye.
Friday. Bye.